Well, I've rehearsed this all morning, so let's see if I can get through it. My name is David Hodges. I'm the son of Steve and Mary Hodges. Don Abercrombie was a friend of Steve's for about 46 years and a friend of Mary's for almost that long. I've known him my entire life. Steve has a medical condition that prevents him from standing and speaking for any length of time, so he's asked me to read what he's written here. I quote, "Don Abercrombie's life was like a long novel with many chapters, many characters, and many stories. I was part of some of those chapters and stories. I went to work in the Journal Accounting Department of Texas Instruments in May of 1968. I was 26 years old and was one of the 3 male supervisors in a bullpen of 30 to 40 women. One morning I was introduced to Don Abercrombie, another male supervisor, the difference being he had a cubicle along the wall of the bullpen, and that made him special. As I quickly got to know him, cigar and all, I realized he was special. We became almost instant friends. One Friday, I asked if he wanted to go to a party that night with me and my roommate, Les Shirtliff. He answered with a phrase that I came to hear many, many times in the following years. Hell yeah. We're thinking about going skiing in Colorado. Want to go? Same answer. We're going to Acapulco for the weekend. Want to go? Same answer. We're going down to Corpus for a long weekend. Want to go? Same answer, and so it went. The only times it was different was when he had an opportunity to spend the time with his 2 kids. They came first. From 1968 to early 1971, it was a whirlwind blur of hard work at TI and hard play. As I often say, it would take me 2 years to tell you about those 2 years. In January 1971, I said, "Hey Don, Ed, Terry, and I are thinking about quitting our jobs, going to Florida, buying a sailboat, and sailing around the Bahamas. You want to go?" "What?" Then the same answer. We bought a 1953 Chevrolet station wagon, packed up, and headed to Florida in April 1971. That began a year of adventure: the Bahamas, Mexico, Europe, and Rocky Mountain skiing. We returned to Dallas in early 1972, rented an apartment, and began to look for jobs. Don bought an old Volkswagen bus camper to putter around in. What most people don't know is how close we came to moving to Australia. There was a shortage of accountants, and they were welcoming accountants to immigrate to Australia. We visited the consulate here in Dallas and picked up all the necessary paperwork and began to make plans. Then I received a job offer here in Dallas that I couldn't refuse, and shortly after, Don also returned to corporate life. For a few years, we discussed the what-ifs if we had gone to Australia. We began sailing again, met our wives-to-be, and the rest is the history that most of you know. I knew Don was a little older than I was. When we went to Europe, I got the under 30 discounts, and Don had to pay full price. I kidded him about that, but never thought much about it. Don never seemed as old as he was. Just a few years ago, while researching some of my relatives in East Texas, I pulled up birth records for 1937 in Rusk County, where my older brother was born. The first name on the list was Abercrombie, Donald Laverne. My first thought was, this has to be the Don I know, and the second thought was, Laverne? For all these years, I thought it was Donald Lee. When I kidded him about it, he gave me a history lesson on the name Laverne. As most of you know, Don was an encyclopedia of history, world history, American history, political history, and especially Dallas history. Now I'll have to look up answers to my own history questions instead of calling Don. This is just one of the many things that I'll miss about Don. Don Abercrombie was a true gentleman, and I consider it an honor to have been his friend.